Hi guys, it's Zug and welcome back to another video. Today, as you can see, it's another installment of my May Perfect Murder series, and in this time we'll be reviewing the ABC Murders by Agatha Christie. This is a Poirot novel, and I think it's the third thing, I believe, on the series. As always, this video will be divided in two parts. The first one, I discuss the book as a book review normally, spoiler free, and in the second part I'll be reviewing the murder, so it will include spoilers. So be aware of that. It will be timestamps in the description so you can jump in my final thoughts, my outro, everything, so you can see clearly where it ends, the spoiler free and the non-spoiler part. So let's start. The ABC Murders is, as I said, a Poirot novel, so it follows the usual structure, for at least for the two that I've read. We follow the perspective of Hastings while he's retelling the story of this case. Hastings arrives at London because he's living, I think, in South America, and he has to do some stuff there, and he goes to meet his friend Poirot, who received a letter for the ABC claiming they will commit a crime on a specific day and on a specific city. No one, Hastings, the Scotland Yard, believe that the letter is true, because a lot of people send letters to Scotland Yard saying, oh, I'm going to commit this, and then it's like a false alarm. But Poirot is very intrigued because it was directly to him, and it was almost like a challenge, because the card talks about almost a challenge against Poirot. When the first murder occurs, everyone starts to believe the letters, and more letters start to come. So the ABC murder, as the title says, goes by killing from the ABC. The novel itself, it's a standard Poirot novel. We have murders, we have Poirot trying to discover who is behind the murders, Hastings falling for beautiful girls, believing that they are totally innocent because they are pretty. That London on the 20s, 30s, 40s, everything very like Poirot playing with Hastings. Like, you like some clues, for example, the fingerprints and blah blah blah. Usually Poirot goes from deduction and goes from what he sees on people, and we have the iconic lines of using the gray mass, using the brain. That's iconic lines from Poirot. The novel is very enjoyable. It's very well written. Agatha Christie has this talent that makes you want to read and wants to continue the story. It's totally engaging. This one has a little bit of a mystery because during the novel we have another perspective for another character that, surprisingly, it's important. But I cannot say much. The murders are inventive, the murders are very interesting, the architecture of the novel goes in letter by letter, and by following Hastings, we are always in the doubt, because if you follow Poirot and if you hear his inner thoughts, we'll all discover much faster because he is always thinking. But as Hastings, being the narrator, is not a fiable narrator at all because he has his flaws. He has problems with girls. He has a lot of troubles. So that is why Hastings is a great narrator, because it gives you a cloud idea of what is happening, and then when Poirot comes to the scene and explains everything that happened, it's brilliant. I think I don't have so much to say. The novel, as you can see, is very short. It doesn't have the plot. It's just Poirot trying to discover, so it's a detective story, but it's engaging. It's what it is, a Poirot novel. I think I don't need to describe as much. It's charming. You have a lot of the Poirot moments with Hastings. You have you try to discover who is the murderer, as always, and I believe you won't be able to find it. Maybe, depends, sometimes. And this one, I don't know. I think the most fascinating part of this book is the murder, the way it was plotted, the way it ended, the way it was constructed, the character of the murder. It's very good. I really enjoy it, because I don't want to talk right now because it's part of the murder, but let's say usually you have the typical suspects, and here we don't have it. And I think that's all I can say it's about the book. It doesn't have so much to talk about, and I want to talk more about the murder because this murder is brilliant. Let me tell you that. But before, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for watching. If you don't want the spoilers, and I'm glad you watched till here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as always. Now let's go to the murder. So the ABC murder is different from the most typical murders because it goes. You think he's a serial killer the way he kills, he kills very ordinarily. He plays with the police, in this case with Poirot, because he directly sent the letters to Poirot. He kills a person with A in the name, with, in this case, the last name, in the city with A, and then he goes to the B, and then he goes to the C, a very ordinate order, because he wants you to think he's a serial killer. But the brilliance of this murder is that he's not a serial killer. He wants to kill one specific person, but to deviate the attention. And let's imagine, if someone is killed, the first suspects, and if it's healthy or something, are the family. One of the main lines on investigation is who will earn something with this man's death. Now, if you were caught in a series of killings that follows the same modus operandi, in this case it's not the same modus operandi, but it follows the same strategy, you have a letter for a serial killer saying he's killing someone, and he has the same left, because in the ABC murders, each time that the killer killed someone, he left an ABC, which I didn't know. But the ABC is a train magazine with all the trains from all the cities, I believe, and schedules. So he left one of these ABC because it's his trademark, and he left open on the page that connects to the city that he killed. So we have a woman, a middle-aged woman, who is killed on a shop that she owns. Then we have a young girl who is hanged, who is asphyxiated and then hanged, and then we have the third is a man who is killed when he's taking a walk, and we have a fourth kill that is a man on a cinema, which is the cover of this book actually. So the killer here, what he tried to do was, I want to kill a person, so I will create a serial killer to make it seem that my victim, who is not going to be the first, it's going to be like the second, the third, or the fourth, or what else, usually the third, will be connected to this serial killer, and the attentions will be not focused on me, because, well, if you have this serial killer who sends letters to the investigation department, who lets such a signature move, okay, you have copycats, but it's not usual to have a copycat so soon. Usually we have a copycat years later or something, or even, but these were very close one from the others, like within a month. So I don't believe that I would think he's a copycat. I would think it was the same person, so he will be free. But imagine, he didn't want the person to be killed, and then he handed the murders. No, he had to continue a little bit more. He had to do at least one more. So imagine you kill A, B, C, and then it stops. It's weird, you have this killer, this serial killer who wants to trick the police, who wants to threat Poirot, and then he stops. People will start to investigate. So he would kill him one more time, and will make it in a way that will incriminate another person. That was a bold move, and also sometimes stupid, and I'll explain why. Incriminating another person comes a problem that, unless it's someone that you know specifically could be on the scenes that he made him be on, the same lands that he killed, could not have an alibi for those nights. But he forgot that. It was his first mistake. And then another mistake was he talked too much. And this is when Poirot comes with his intelligence, that by saying something as simple as a favorite book or a favorite scene or a simple question that may be what he's thinking about, give Poirot all the information he needed to see that the murder was that specific person. And it comes to this. The killer had something to win, but by killing it, he won't get it because he will get caught. So he creates this story of a massive murder, a serial killer so crazy that follows almost Jack the Ripper letters, sends letters pranking and say, I'm going to kill on that day, on that town, so beware. But he already studied everything. And that is very good. Another thing that he did well was, since the letters were not sent to the police, but sent to a private investigator, he could make one of the letters delayed. The letter that contained the murder that he wanted to really to be committed, because it was the murder that he wanted to happen because he will win something. Game was not ended in the right hour because he needed them to be late so he can actually kill the person. That is brilliant. Someone who's private, so you can mislead the letter, you can write wrong the street, and so it will be delivered in different places. But also it creates suspicious, because why is the only letter? Well, it can be a mistake. He's after all, he's human, so he can make a mistake, but it raised some suspicious. One of the points that he made him call was that he didn't like foreigners. And Poirot is from Belgium. He's not British and not French. And from the details he gave him Poirot the reason why he was chosen. And it was one of the first things he said, because I'm famous and because I'm a foreigner. And he wants to make fun of the immigrants, It was one of the first lines that Poirot said in this investigation. It was brilliant the way he did it. His mind was full point. But imagine, you want to commit these murders, but you don't want to get caught, and you get the person who's going to be incriminated, and you make him seem that he's going to be incriminated, but you have to be very careful. So one of the points that I think he could be done was, why not stop? You kill the fourth person, they are not cutting you, they are not able. So why not say that, oh, I'm tired of this game, you are boring, I'm always winning, so I'm quitting for time, let's see in the future. And then he continues his life. He could have done that. The move that he tried to incriminate someone was what gave him away, because he didn't control every aspect of the person and didn't expect that he had an alibi. That was the boldest and the stupidest move, because he could simply stop, he could simply disappear, he would still be I don't think they will call him, because what connections he would have at the time. That was the first flaw that he had. The second was, in my opinion, misleading the murder that he wanted with the letter being delayed. That could be misleading of that murder was more important than the others, but still could be associated with a mistake as a human, or being drunk or being tired. It could be both ways, but you have to be careful when you are planning a murder, of course. But yeah, in terms of perfect murder or not, I think nowadays will be harder, as always, because this is set with no cameras, with no... for example, the first one is made on a shop. So the shop could easily have cameras, and it's a busy street, so he could not be seen that day, and people would be very not interested in the faces. But the second one, he killed this girl who likes very much the attention of men, because she's still single, but she's dating someone, but he's not married, so she likes to have the attention, and he seduced her to kill her. But in this, he has to expose himself a couple of times, taking her to dinner, taking her to do other stuff. And that exposure, it's dangerous nowadays, because you have cameras on restaurants, ATMs, everything will have security, so it will be hard for him not to be seen with that girl if we check the camera. So if you wanted to do this, you had to do in a way that could not be seen, and you cannot leave traits of you behind. You have to have alibis. You have to have like, I don't know, some transactions, something that proves you. No, because nowadays you have you can only pay with money. You cannot pay with your credit cards or cards because you will have to destination. You could not use your phone because nowadays you could connect the phones and you could see in each area the phone was. So you have to be very careful nowadays. It will be harder. So unless they are all in the same area, and you could justify being all in the same area, for example, Lisbon, and you also live in Lisbon, but these were very far away from each other, so it was hard to justify. If it was all in a small area and you live in that small area naturally, and you go like walking, you go make exercise, you go dinner, you live, for example, in a city, it will be easier to justify, but you also would be careful. The way that he killed, let me think, he killed two by hitting them in the head, another with a knife, and another, like I said, strangled. So the strangled one, they use like a belt that doesn't leave fingerprints. I don't know if they will leave like cells, even if not fingerprints, would be the DNA, so maybe gloves will be a solution. The others, he will always have to be careful with hair, fingerprints, blood being on him. And I think the knife it's the one who is most hard. I still don't fully understand how he killed someone without making a sound. But I was trying to think of evidence. Well, you have always, like I said, you have the receipts, you have cameras, so you have to be careful on that. So overall, the murder itself, the idea, the construction, it would work because it will deviate the attentions from you, and they will believe it's a serial killer, not directly you trying to win something. I think the execution will be harder today. You have to be much more careful. You have to be much more you have to think a lot more. And this idea of the letters, I think it could be updated. Maybe you should not even send letters to anyone, just kill by A, B, C, and try to see, like, after the second sending a letter, like, are you liking my murders, something like that, or even just don't say anything and try to make the investigators think more without saying everything, like trying to make them connect the dots, oh, a murder happened here, A, another happened here, B, trying to make them connect so you can win sometime. Maybe that will be a smartest move today, but yeah, you have a lot to take into account, so definitely it's a good idea, but maybe not the perfect. Maybe it has a lot of details that you have to pay attention, and that will make harder, not impossible, but harder. And yeah, I think I said everything I wanted to say. So guys, this was my review for the ABC Murders X and the review of the murder itself. Tell me in the comments if you like it, if you're not, if you are enjoying this series. I would love to hear your feedbacks. This is the second one. Yeah, I post videos every Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and sometimes on other days if I have videos to put. And I see you guys on my next video. Bye.